Hey guys, this is TKC, TheKaijudoChannel, here at my hotel room. Man, there's like a weird echo. I don't know, my voice sounds kind of weird in this room, but anyways, I just got back from the Richardson, Texas KMC at Comic Asylum. I did pretty good. I got 13th place out of 59 people, so I'm pretty proud of that. I went 4-2, and I guess I'll talk about my matchups later on, but I'm going to go ahead and show you my deck, which I feel was very, very unique. And I actually got this idea from someone very special. Someone from Japan, Yukimon. He was on my channel way back in the Battle Decks meta, and I actually got to play with him, and he played a deck very similar to this, but I just kind of modified it a little bit for our meta and stuff. And it went really well. I just destroyed Lightwater Dark all day, basically. I went 4-1 against Lightwater Darks, and then I lost against the Saber Bolt, which made me go 4-2. But anyways, here's the deck. I'm not going to do it deck tech style, sadly, because like I don't really have much time for that, and I don't have much space and stuff like that. But anyways, so I'm going to go with the nature first. It's basically like the backbone of the deck. So we got the Sprouts, of course. Awesome stuff. We got the 3 Energizes. So this is like all-out ramp. This is like really important. Of course, you got to run the 3 Reap and Sows. And then lastly, to round out nature, to give it enough cards to consistently get these ramp cards off, I got a lot of removal. I'm going to go with the obvious one first. The 3 Root Traps is pretty obvious. It just is so good in this meta because of Lux. And then I had a lot of weird other nature cards in here. I actually tried Drifting Toadstool. I felt it was kind of out of place, and it was really bad against Herald because like it gives them a creature to kill and stuff like that. And it's just it's pointless, and I had better cards. So I've been testing a lot with Aiden Thorn, a fellow teammate on Team Gates, and we found out that this card right here, Return to Soil, was so good in so many matchups. It just made a lot of the matchups that I had trouble with, like, it just brought it to, like, equal, you know, like 50-50. But yeah, Return to Soil was really good, especially with, like, Saber Bolt. You know, like, Sabertooth is just so brutal, and you hit that, and, like, no matter what, it's going in mana anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Of course, I would prefer to run Bone Blades, but I need the nature so I can consistently get off all these nature cards. So yeah, and my deck is, like, 43 cards. It's kind of like a weird number, but, yeah, I don't know. 14 nature, it's what I needed to get the Sprouts going and stuff like that. Next, we're going to go to Water. Water's the next biggest at 9. So here we got 2 Logo Scan. This deck has so many Shield Blasts, and I would prefer to have more Shield Blasts if possible. And usually I'm skipping turn 3 because I'm using Sprout. Or I'm going to use Energize turn 3, and then I'm going to recover my hand with Reap and Sow, or Spy Mission, or Trial and Error the next turn. So Logos isn't as good, but when you don't have the Sprout and you need some cards in hand when you're going first, Logos is really good. And it's really good late game too, when you're like, oh, I'm at 12 mana, let me Logos, find like a big dragon, and then play it. So Logos is really clutch at 2. And then I use 2 Spy Missions, of course. This used to be 3. And I also used to have a 3rd Logos, and I think also try to Search the Depths, but that was kind of weird. But I wasn't running this card, and I really don't know why I wasn't. 2 Crystal Memory was so good all day. You know, searching the exact card I needed out of my deck. It just helps so much. It was really good in Shields too, and it made sure that I got the Shatter before they did. And that was like basically my whole premise of the deck. It's just like ramp, find the Shatter, play the Shatter turn 6, which happens super often with this deck, and then you just kind of like curve out into like a bunch of dragons and win the game. So Memory was so good, and I'll tell you why. Another reason why it's so good, and you'll see it later in the Darkness section. And then I maxed out Trial and Error because it's just you just dig through the deck. It's so awesome. Drawing 3 is really important. You know, like let's say, I don't know, you don't have the Shatter or whatever, like you gotta dig for it, or you want to dig for more answers to whatever they're playing. Trial and Error is so good, and it also combos really well with another card later on. The same card, Crystal Memory, works well with. So that's 9 Water. Then we got Darkness. Alright, here's the card right here. Dreadclaw. This card has been MVP for pretty much everyone this weekend. I have to say that right now. This card is amazing. I wouldn't go to 2 in this deck per se, but in other decks that max Trial and Error and have a bunch more dragons than this deck, I would easily bump this to 2. I think I could find place for 2 in this deck as well. I wish I found place for it. It was so good. Considering I only had one in the deck, it didn't happen too often where I used it and it was actually useful. I think maybe like 3 times it was useful. It was useful against Carl Reddish once, and it was really useful against my last round opponent, and where I got like Andromeda, Infernus, and Lyra back, and then I just kind of like won the game from there. Yeah, so this card's great. Searchable with memory, so like late game, your Infernus and your Andromedas are gone, and then like turn 11, or not turn 11, but you have 11 mana, and you just go memory into this, play it, get everything back, and then just keep it going. When this deck loses steam and a bunch of cards are in the discard pile, like you basically lose the game. So having this at least gives you some sort of like, I don't know, kind of hope that you could actually come back. But it was in mana like a lot of the time, like 75% of the time this was in mana. Another key card of the deck. No one really has been using this card too much, but this card has been so clutch. Necro Dragon of Vile Iker. I'm using 2 of them because like basically I'm not really attacking with this deck unless I really have to, and I have to win the game that way. And so usually what I want to do is I want to be super, super, super controlly, even more controlly than the Light Water Dark controls, and just kind of like play a bunch of dragons, kind of like get rid of all their threats, play this, break usually 4 or 5 shields, and then you basically win the game from there. This card is just so great. Usually one's in mana, and then one of them I just get it later on, or I memory into it or something. Super good card. And then lastly, for Darkness, the 3 Pits, obviously. And then I'm only using 2 Shatter. That's all I really need. I got memories as well to search it out, so that's it for Darkness. And then the last 2 civs are both splashes in a way. They're both 6 cards each. So I guess I'll go with Light first. It's just 3 Lyra, 3 Andromeda. Simple as that. You need the Lyras. When you're going against an aggressive deck, you kind of want to slow them down a little bit. You just play the Lyra. Or even if you're going against control, it's super good. Like you get your Andromeda out or your Infernus out, and then you just kind of like tap their stuff, kill it, and just kind of like slowly do that, and then you just bam, Necro Dragon their face, and then you win. I think Necro Dragon has won me like pretty much most of my games. I'd say like at least 6 of my games today, maybe even more than that. Otherwise, I just attack for game. Yep, that's it for light, and then for fire. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this card for a little bit, because it's honestly very surprising what the community thinks about this card, but 3 Dragon's Breath. This versus Barrage, especially in this deck anyway, Dragon's Breath, you'd be so silly not to use Dragon's Breath. It's so good. This card is just super good. Like, I need this card in my Rush matchups, and even then, like Rush just poops on my deck. But I didn't go against Rush, and I made the right meta call. Like, there was 0 Rush there at all. I think maybe there was like a couple, but I didn't get paired against any, and none of them did well. So I got really lucky in that respect. But yeah, Dragon's Breath is so good against the control mirrors. Like, it lets me get rid of their blockers. I mean, you know, Puppet's not the best target, but it happened where I Dragon's Breath a Puppet and it saved me the game. So, like, just Dragon's Breath is, it's just so good. I really don't know why people don't play this enough. It's super good. I know Robbie, he played 3 Barrage in his War Dark Fire, and I asked him if he would use Dragon's Breath, and he said either way he wouldn't really care. But if he had to play that KMC again with 3 of mass removal cards, he probably should have been using more of these, because this card was just, so good. And then you don't even have to know this, 3 Infernus. In many respects, this card is way better than Andromeda, at least in this deck anyway, and in this meta that I was in. Like, Andromeda was actually really not that good against Light Water Dark, because they're just sitting there and getting their own shields and stuff like that. And like, there was actually a round where I lost against Russell from Eternal Dueling, and I played Andromeda 4 times and just decked myself out. Like, I had nothing to do. Like, I never got my Infernuses, and eventually they all hit my shields and they just didn't attack anyone. So yeah, Andromeda is, you know, very scary. It could like hurt yourself, which you don't want to do. But yeah, Infernus is just so clutch. Getting it out there and then making sure you tap with it often, because Death Smoke was a card, and so I attack with it a lot, pretty much all day, because like Death Smoke scared me. But yeah, that's the deck. 43 cards. Thanks to you, Came On, for the idea. This deck is just so much fun. I was really comfortable with it, and I'm honestly really surprised I managed to beat Carl Reddish. That was easily the most insane match I've ever done in my entire life in Kaijudo so far, even any card game. It was so intense. You should have seen my face. It was like, oh my god, I was so intense. You'll actually hear commentary. If he leaves the commentary in, you're going to see people who are watching it, and they're like, man, I've never seen TKC like this. He's like so in the zone, so stressed out, so like he wants to win this game so bad, and oh, I can't believe I did. It was just, oh my god, it was just a crazy day. So you're going to see that match on Thunder Sultan's channel.